What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday, March. What do we got coming up here? March 21st. Already losing track of days. Appreciate you making us a part of your start. Whether it's on the radio dials at 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also online, sportstalk1051.com. Got the app, got your what else do we got? We've got the video stream up and rolling. I'm kind of all over the place here this morning, but appreciate you making us a part of your start on this Tuesday. We got lots to catch up on here. We're gonna talk some baseball. We got the World Baseball Classic Championship tonight, and it looks to be a fantastic game tonight with Japan getting the walk-off win last night against Mexico. Sets up a Japan versus United States championship game. If you haven't been following the baseball classic, the World Baseball Classic, you've been kind of missing out on some epic games here. And tonight they're already talking about maybe potential ratings records, and a lot of it has to do, with, obviously Japan and such. But you look at this matchup, Otani's already talking about coming in relief. He's going to pitch in relief tonight. We're going to see an Otani versus Trout matchup potentially, because we don't get to see that in the regular season since they're teammates and such. But a lot of storylines in this one, and I'm kind of wondering, has any of you been following along, kind of been watching the World Baseball Classic? Do you think it needs to be out there more? Like, it's on FS1. If you want to watch the game tonight, it's on FS1. But do you think it needs to be a little bit more love or attention from maybe some like the bigger networks out there? Not saying FS1 isn't a big network, obviously, but such. But when I think of baseball, I'm thinking ESPN or Fox or something like that. I just you're looking at it, this World Baseball Classic, and there have been some really, really, really entertaining games and some fantastic games, and some of the best players in the world on this stage too. I mean, that's where I got to give credit to. Like, I know we talk about it with the All-Star games and such. When you look at Major League Baseball, most for the most part, whoever gets selected to the All-Star game goes and plays, unless there's an injury or there's a pitcher where it just doesn't line up with their start. But yeah, I got to give credit to these players for wanting to play in this. For some, I was kind of, even if you've been kind of following along and seeing some of the audio clips from some of the players and such. Some were even saying this is how they imagine what the World Series is like, and maybe this is the only chance that some get to the World Series type of atmosphere and such. But I don't know, like I almost feel like it still deserves a little bit more love or maybe a little bit more attention from the higher ups. I'll be curious to see. I don't know what TV contracts or anything like that will looks like or anything like that, but I don't know. This should be a fantastic game tonight, and I can't wait to kind of tune in and watch it. Be a little bit of a later night, but it's going to be worth it. USA versus Japan. USA, if they win, they will be back-to-back champs, two-time champs. If Japan wins, they will have 3 total and will have 3 of the 5 World Baseball Classic championships. So, should be good. Speaking of baseball, as we are itching a little bit closer and closer to opening day, I do want to chat a little bit, a little Brewers. So as we're getting a little bit closer, I want to know. I've got my 5, but I'm curious for you, fellow Brewers fans out there, who are the 5 players' names to watch for the Brewers this season? If you've been following along with spring training, you've probably heard about some of the youngsters, Jesse Weimer, Sal Frelick, the youngster outfielders. But give me the 5 players to watch for the Brewers this season. I've got my 5, and I'll be honest with you, it was kind of hard to narrow it down to just 5, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I guess it depends on how you look at it. And you can, I guess you could have it in different definitions, like this is a player to watch because you think this is going to be a fantastic year for that player, or you think this is a player to watch because you're kind of on the fence with them. You don't know what to expect. We don't know what to expect from them. Or you're looking for a bounce back year, or you're looking for another dominant year. So it kind of depends on, and I'll leave that up to you, but that kind of depends on where your mind's at, like how you view like the 5 players to kind of watch for. And for me, it was a little bit of a mixture of both. A mixture of like, okay, I want to see this player either improve from last year, the last couple of years, or they're having a really good spring. Can they do that in the regular season? Can they take what they're doing in the spring into the regular season? And a little bit of an unknown factor with them too. So I have a little bit of a mixture, but I'll be curious to kind of get your thoughts on it. Give me your 5 players, and it can be position players or pitchers, whatever. But give me your 5 players to watch for the Brewers this season. And I'll be honest, when we get to this, I might even switch it here because I do have a couple of honorable mentions on this thing because, like I said, it was hard for me to narrow it down to just 5. So I'll throw a couple of honorable mentions in this, but I might have to sub one in and out because, yeah, I don't know. I keep kind of going back and forth on this thing. If baseball isn't really your thing right tonight and you're still kind of in a hoops mood with March Madness going on, got Badgers. Badger hoops. It's going to be a late game taking on the Oregon Ducks. Badgers win. They move on to the Final Four in the NIT. Do you care or do you not care? Do you not care because it's the NIT? Do you not care because it's not the NCAA tournament? Or are you like, hey, all Badgers, don't care, still rooting for them, still cheering for them, still paying attention? So they got that game tonight. If you want to, might be a couple of 2 TV type of night, if you know what I mean. Get it in your man caves, put both of them on, World Baseball Classic and little Badger hoops going up against Oregon. But it'll be the 1-seeded Oregon Ducks, Badgers 3-seed, in case anybody was wondering. So winner moves on to that Final Four for the NIT. Do they call it the Final Four in the NIT? It's just the Final Four teams left in the NIT there. So you got that on the docket. We'll hit that up. Bucks are still having a night off, but we are going to throw a little Bucks chat in here. I don't know if anybody saw this from Kevin Garnett from KG the other day, but he was on a podcast, I think, with Paul Pierce, but he was making the case that Giannis isn't the best player in the Bucks right now. He thinks it's Drew Holiday. Yeah, it was KG certified. He was talking with his former teammate, Paul Pierce, and he said that KG believes that Holiday is the best player in Milwaukee right now, to which Paul Pierce disagreed. KG said Giannis hasn't been in the lineup. Drew Holiday is leading the pack when it comes to the Bucks. Kevin Garnett believes that since Holiday has been the main guy leading the charge for the Bucks this season, with Giannis and Middleton missing time with injuries, he's been the team's best player. Your thoughts on that? I can see where KG is going with this, but I wouldn't go as far as saying that Drew Holiday is the best player. I think you can make like Drew Holiday. We've done this before, like, who's the brains, who's the spirit, who's the straw that stirs the drink sort of analogies when it comes to these teams all the time. I wouldn't say Drew Holiday, like if I were to power rank him, I mean, Giannis is the number one, but Drew Holiday's importance to this team is so vital. Like, they won't win the NBA Finals without Drew Holiday. They won't win it without Giannis either, but they need Drew Holiday on this team. Drew Holiday is incredibly important, and this guy has stepped up in big-time moments, especially when Giannis has missed that time. Obviously, we know Middleton has missed quite a bit of time so far this year. And that's why Drew Holiday has been an all-star this year. So I know I understand where KG is going with that, but I wouldn't phrase it that he's the best Bucks player right now. I wouldn't go that far, but I kind of understand where KG's mindset is going, or where it's kind of at a little bit. Drew Holiday is incredibly important to this Bucks team, and he is having perhaps his best season as a pro, or one of his best seasons as a pro, because he's had some really good, solid seasons throughout his career that I think kind of get overlooked and underappreciated at that point. But I'm going to talk a little Bucks. If you remember, Giannis the other night made history with the 13th perfect triple-double in NBA history against those Raptors. 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists. So you're like, what's a perfect triple-double? Didn't miss a shot. So Giannis just he's going with it. Just let's keep this in the back of your mind for your little Tuesday pop quiz question coming up a little bit later on, okay? Just remember Giannis when we're going to have our pop quiz question at the back end of this hour. We'll throw a little football chat in here too. I want to know, Packers fans, how frustrated or confused, depending on which word you want to use to describe your feelings in this, are you with the Packers' offseason plans so far? Take Rodgers out of the equation. Just kind of, take that out of the equation. Now, I'm not referring to the whole Rodgers situation. I'm referring to their free agency kind of plan so far, what we have seen so far. And if you want a little, Bill Huber has a great article up, covers the Packers, SI, Packer Central. And his latest article, he's got there, talks about, if for anybody thinking it's Rodgers for the cap problems for Green Bay, not exactly. It could be a part of it, but it's not solely the Rodgers contract on the cap. And he goes through, I think it was 7 different reasons. But Green Bay also has about $24.2 million available in cap space, according to Over the Cap. That's the fourth most. However, Chicago and Detroit are first and second, by the way. So when you hear that number and you hear that they've got that amount available, are you frustrated that maybe they're not being as active in free agency to surround Jordan Love with more talent? Give him opportunity, give him more weapons, making sure he has the opportunity to go out there and play at a high level. Is it confusing you? Like, for example, Dalton Schultz, tight end for the Cowboys. Okay. Some people speculated, would that be a good fit for Green Bay? Hey, Green Bay needs a tight end. They're pretty low right now. You got DeGuara and Tyler Davis. Well, Dalton Schultz isn't even going back to the Cowboys. He's going to the Texans. A 1-year deal worth up to $9 million. But it obviously didn't happen. He's going to the Texans. So the Texans, I mean, he signed up with the Texans. Texans don't even have a quarterback. We know that they're going to have a quarterback, but we don't know who that quarterback's going to be. So why didn't Green Bay? Maybe Green Bay made a call, but you'd think 1 year, $9 million, up to $9 million, which tells me that's incentives included. Why wouldn't Green Bay do that? That sure looks like they're going to be drafting a tight end in this draft. So, again, are you a little confused? They've been restructuring these contracts to open up cap space. How would you describe how you're feeling with this Packers offseason plan so far. So we'll hit that up coming up a little bit later on too. But let's get things rolling here this morning. I want to talk a little baseball here. Will you be watching the World Baseball Classic tonight? Do you think it needs to get a little bit more love, maybe from the networks out there, or because I'm sure I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I don't know who has cable or satellite or even streaming now. It's on FS1. That would be one of the probably not top five networks I would think that would be carrying a baseball game or World Baseball Classic game. But regardless, will you be watching the World Baseball Classic? Do you think it needs a little bit more attention, a little bit more love? Do you think it gets a little underappreciated? And then give me your top five Brewers players to watch for this upcoming season. I've got my five plus a couple of honorable mentions. And again, like we said, you can phrase it however you want. Top five based off of, well, I think this player is going to have a bounce back year. This player is going to be dynamic this year. This is big unknown surrounding this player. It could be a mixture of both. That's how I went about it. So start hitting me up with those texts on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Let's take that first break, and then we got the lead off. We're going to talk a little baseball to open up things. Next week's opening day already. Getting closer. Does it feel like it? I don't know. It doesn't kind of feel like it for me yet. Put it on your schedules. April 11th with the Packers tailgate tour coming to town. First stop's going to be in Eau Claire. Got Aaron Jones, you got Elton Jenkins, you got Romeo Dobbs, you got Eddie Lacy, you got HaHa Clinton Dix, Devon House, Mark Murphy. All that's going to be at the Lismore April 11th, helping benefit the Bolton Refuge House. You can get your tickets by visiting boltonrefugehouse.org/Packers. Better grab your tickets before they go away, before they get all sold out there. So I'll be over there helping MC and such. So should be a good time, and that'll be right before the draft. And obviously, we maybe we'll know stuff, maybe we won't, regarding the one quarterback that used to wear number 12, and probably will be the last one to wear number 12 for the green and gold. So, but April 11th, that's a Tuesday. Get your tickets. You can visit boltonrefuge.org/Packers to grab your tickets up there too. So you can order them online and such. G-Man's going to be there and all that good stuff. Like C-Bomb's going to be there. So should be a good group. But get your tickets now before it's too late and they all sell out. All right, let's catch up, or let's lead things off here, I should say, with a little baseball talk here. Let's do a little baseball talk. Looks like the majority of you texting it. No, I shouldn't say majority. It looks like it's an even split amongst those who will be watching the World Baseball Classic. Let's say, yeah, it's about 50-50. So for those of you who aren't watching it, you don't have to tell me why, but just be curious. Maybe it just doesn't fit your schedule. Maybe it's on a little too late past your bedtime or such, or maybe you just don't care. But right now, according to the text, it's about 50-50. Pretty close to a 50-50. Interesting. So keep those thoughts coming, though. Okay? Give me a little background, a little analysis on it. G-Man's going to be watching it. So his 5 players as well that he's going to be watching, or his top 5 players to watch for this year for the Brewers, is Willie Adames, Yelly, Freddie, Rowdy, and Brandon Woodruff. So my list here, I've got 5, and then I've got a couple of honorable mentions on here. So I am going to go. We'll start it off with the honorable mentions, because I didn't rank them in terms of like the player to most watch. Like number 1 is like my main one to watch. I didn't rank them or anything like that, but I do have my top 5, and then a couple of honorable mentions. So my honorable mentions, I went with Brian Anderson, the new third baseman. I know a lot of you, once that signing became official, or it was out there, you kind of thought, hey, this is a signing you like, which kind of, I shouldn't say kind of surprised me, because that seems a little too dramatic. But there was quite a few of you that more than what I thought, that you're like, I really like this signing. I kind of like this signing. I think this could be kind of one of those surprise signings that we're not thinking too much about at this current point in time. But he's going to be a nice benefit. He's going to be a nice boost to this team. So we've talked about his arm strength over there. I think all the statistics and stat figures that surround baseball, when you factor in Brian Anderson and Willie Adames, might be the hardest throwing left side of the infield in all of Major League Baseball, or one of the top ones out there. So honorable mention Brian Anderson, because I want to see what he can bring to the table here for the Brewers. Can he be, that solidify that third base spot for the Brew Crew? Luis Urias is probably going to be, the everyday second baseman. When you look at Brian Anderson's projections so far, this is according to Baseball Reference here. They got him at a 237 batting average, 11 home runs, on base percentage of a 319, slugging of a 375, OPS of a 690, 694. When you look at his career numbers, I mean, he's a career 256 hitter. His best season, if you're kind of looking at it, obviously he spent his career with Miami. You kind of look at 2019, when he hit 20 dingers. His first 3 seasons, if we want to count 2017, he only played 25 games, but 262 batting average, 2018, 2019, 273, 261. But I got Brian Anderson on there mostly just can he solidify that third base spot? Can he provide some defensive presence over there? And I guess I don't have too much expectations for his bat. Just mostly can he kind of hold down that third base spot, and then maybe that'll help Luis Urias over there switching over to that second base position, which I think me personally, I feel like Luis Urias is better suited for second base rather than third base. Just my thoughts, just my opinion, but that's where I'm at. The other honorable mention, I'm going with Rowdy Tellez because Rowdy Tellez has had a pretty solid spring when you include the World Baseball Classic too. And when you look at what he was doing with the Brewers and just 14 plate appearances in spring training, 417, already 3 dingers. But you look at his projections, if we're using Baseball Reference, they're a little bit down. I'm surprised they're a little bit down. 235, 24 home runs is his projections. I guess if we were to you're going to buy high or buy low on that, go over under, I'd probably go the over on that. I know his batting average this past year was just 219, but he did have 35 home runs. I feel like Rowdy Tellez is going to be a player that's going to benefit from the banning of the shift. I feel like he's a guy that's going to, that floor is going to be 30 home runs. And I think we're going to see his batting average move back up to about in the 250s, maybe in the 260s. I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about Rowdy Tellez this year. And, I'm not trying to put too much on him because he's having a good spring. We know that it's baseball. It's going to happen to almost every single player. They're going to go through the highs and lows. They're going to go through a little bit of a slump here or there. But I really feel like Rowdy Tellez could have a pretty darn solid year this year. I'm kind of excited to see Rowdy Tellez with the banning of the shift in place too. So he's another honorable mention. Let's get into the top 5 now. I've only got one pitcher in my top 5, and I might as well tell you who it is right now. But it's Matt Bush. Because Devin Williams, you can make the case. You want to put Devin Williams in there because you want to see him succeed in that closing role as a full-time closer now. I'm not going to argue with that. If you want to put Brandon Woodruff on there or Corbin Burns because those are your top 2 starters, can they, continue to kind of rise up there? Maybe even Corbin Burns. I'm not going to argue. Freddie Peralta coming back from a injury plague season last year. You want to put him there? I ain't going to argue with that one either. I put Matt Bush in here because the bullpen, I feel like, is still a big unknown for the Brewers outside of Devin Williams. I don't know who's going to be that setup guy. I think they want it to be a guy like Matt Bush. And I think to figure out who that setup person or maybe persons, if you got a couple of options, they're going to have to figure that. And they may not figure it out until they get into the season after a couple of weeks or so. But there's so much uncertainty surrounding this bullpen yet outside of Devin Williams that we need to see some consistency. We need to see who's going to solidify some roles in this thing. You go to Adam McCulvey's latest projections for the opening day roster, and even he notes the bullpen is completely up in the air at this point. Aaron Ashby's going to be missing time. Where does he fit in this whole thing when he comes back? Adrian Hauser is probably going to be in the bullpen. Where does he fit in? Is he a long relief type of player? So I put Matt Bush in here because I feel like they want him as that role, as that setup guy, which I think is going to be incredibly important. Back end bullpen help. And can he succeed at that? I want to have that combination at 8th, 9th inning that, we had with Devin Williams and Josh Hader. It really, if I want to be spoiled here, I would love it to be what it was a few years ago when you had the 7th, 8th, and 9th taken care of. You can get your starters to get through 5 or 6, and then you just hand it off to your bullpen there. Don't right now. I don't know if the Brewers have that ability to do that because this bullpen is such an unknown. Yeah. I'm gonna stick with Matt. I was kind of trying. I wanted to put one pitcher in here, so I'm gonna go with Bush on this one. Then I'm gonna go with one of the youngsters out there, Garrett Mitchell. Garrett Mitchell is another player or a name to watch for the Brewers this season for me because we got to see him a little bit last year at the end of the regular season. Gave us some excitement, gave us some intrigue, gave us a little bit of a taste of potentially what could be coming in the future for the Brewers. Made some plays this spring training. Sure looks like he's going to be the opening day starter in center field. So with this extended playing time, I want to see is this legit? Because maybe I'm a little gun shy in this whole thing, but like Keston Hiura, like I feel bad for Keston. I don't think he makes his team. He's out of minor league options, so I don't know what the role is going to be or what the future is going to be for Keston. But we saw Keston, come on the scene hot, right? His rookie year's first couple of years in the season, and we had such high expectations for Keston, thinking, all right, we got another hitter in this lineup, and it just hasn't worked out on a consistency level with Keston. And for all the talk about these youngsters, these younger outfielders, farm system and such, Garrett Mitchell was the first one to get a shot. We saw it last year. We're going to see it this year. Can he hold on to that spot? Can he continue to improve? Can he be a focal player, a pivotal player in this lineup? Whether it's, leadoff spot, stealing some bases, showing off that speed, maybe showing off a little power. But Garrett Mitchell is going to be, first in the line of some of these youngster outfielders. That is the future of this Brewers team. If you want to look at some of the projections, again, I'm just using baseball reference here. Well, I guess they don't have any here for Garrett Mitchell, but so far what he's done in the spring, a 286, 3 home runs and 21 plate appearances. Did go through a little bit of that hamstring issue, but his slugging is a 762. He finished last year with the Brewers with 68 plate appearances, a couple of home runs, a 312 batting average, did strike out 28 times. That'll be one thing that, hopefully he can cut down on is the strikeout number. But I'm intrigued. I'm excited to see what this youngster can bring to the table with a full season. I'm sticking with the outfield here. Christian Yelich. I mean, it's always going to be Christian Yelich on this list, right? Until we maybe see a return to MVP form, or maybe not even fully return to an MVP form, but a guy who was doing what he was doing like with the Marlins, 270, 280, 25 home runs-ish, somewhere around there. I mean, for what he's getting paid for that contract, dude's got to pick up the performance, and we haven't seen it in the last couple of years. We know this team has starting pitching. There's question marks all around the offense. And when you got a guy who's getting paid as much as Christian Yelich is getting paid, that's got to be the guy that is giving you the offensive numbers to be a playoff team. He's got to lead the charge. He's got to step up and be that threat in the lineup. And until we see that, maybe on a consistent basis, Christian Yelich will be on this list. Are we going to see it this year? Where is your confidence we're going to see it? Does the banning of the shift even affect a guy like Christian Yelich? Last year he hit 252 with 14 home runs. Craig Counsell put him in that leadoff role. Had some success there. Will that be his role throughout the whole season this year? Remains to be seen. His projections, probably not going to excite Brewers fans too much. .242 with 14 home runs. Does have an OPS of a 728, but that's still even down from last year. Chris, we've got to see more from Christian Yelich this year. We just have to see more from him. I mean, since 2019, and remember that season ended short due to injury where he was hitting 329. It looked like maybe he was going to be a back-to-back MVP potential candidate. Ever since then, and he had a 1.100 OPS. It's only been in the 700 since then. His batting average has plummeted. His on-base percentage has plummeted. His slugging percentage has plummeted. Was it the knee? Was it other injury issues? I don't know, but we got to see something from Christian Yelich this year. Just have to. Have to. A couple, the last two that I got on here to finish up my top five are a couple of newcomers. I'm going to go Jesse Winker for my next one. You know, a lot of talk about, we were talking about a couple weeks ago when there was an article, I think it was from Brewers.com, but they caught up with his former managers, you know, with the Reds and the Mariners, where they're expecting him to have a nice bounce back year and become, again, one of the better hitters in baseball, especially in the National League. Probably going to be manning down that DH role for the Brewers. When you look at his career, you know, where he spent time with Cincinnati, he was an all-star in 2021 for Cincinnati, where he hit 305, had a 949 OPS. I mean, throughout his career, those first few seasons in his career from 2017 to 2021, the dude, his OPSs were in the 900s or 800s. That all-star year, 24 home runs. Goes to Seattle, which isn't the greatest hitter's ballpark, has a down here, played in 136 games, had some injuries, sounds like he's healthy. Going to be going to Milwaukee, better fit for him. But are we going to see that? Are we going to see his health, improve? Is he going to be able to play in the majority of the games? Is he going to put up some offensive numbers? His projections, 19 home runs, 253 batting average. He's never hit more than 24 home runs in a season, which was the 2021 season. In fact, that was his only season where he had over 20 home runs. But there's a lot of talk, maybe a little excitement, maybe a little bit of hype surrounding Jesse Winker. So let's see it. Can he provide a little bit of a power bat in this lineup? Can he provide a little stability in this offensive lineup? So that's what I want to see Jesse Winker return to what he was doing with the Reds. Not the version that we saw with Seattle last year. I want to see the Cincinnati Reds version of Jesse Winker. And then finally, my last one, again, this was in no particular order here. William Contreras, the new catcher. When he was traded, a lot of people just assumed, hey, the Brewers won that trade. They won that trade. They didn't give up a whole lot for him. He was an all-star last year for the Atlanta Braves, where he hit 278, 20 home runs. Youngster. Brewers need better production, a more consistent production from their catching spot. So, we're all, including myself, we're kind of focusing on what can he do from an offensive side of things from this catching spot for the Brewers, but also it's a new catcher working with a new pitching staff. How's he going to work with? We're going to be able to gel. We're going to be able to, work well with the pitchers right away, with the bullpen and starters and all the above. There's different factors into this thing. I mean, the guy just turned 25. He hopefully we'll have him around for a long time, and hopefully he's performing at a high level for a long time. From all of these projections that we've kind of listed out there, he's one of the ones, according to Baseball Reference, that they're projecting a little bit higher of a performance compared to these other Brewers players that we just noted out there. 262 batting average, 17 home runs and such, but I want to see what this youngster can bring to the table. Can he be kind of like the Jonathan Lucroy, where he's that fixture with this team? He's kind of a go-to guy. He's kind of one of the leaders of this team. Can he provide that? I know he wasn't too excited right away when he got traded, but he's embraced it and such. But I want to see this youngster come in and kind of have a repeat performance of last year, being an all-star catcher. And can he be the long-term fixture at catcher for the Brewers? So those are my top 5 with a couple of honorable mentions. I wouldn't argue anybody's picks, to be honest with you. I mean, I think you can make the case for a whole bunch of different players on this Brewers team. You know, if we were to pick if you were to pick your own top 5 players to watch, names to watch for this upcoming season, I probably wouldn't argue any of them. These are just my 5 for the reasons why I just kind of went through them there. Plus a couple of honorable mentions too. What do you got though? Hit me up. Text me 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, or hit me up on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Kasper Sports. Also, you can comment on the video stream if you would like to as well. We'll take a quick break. See if we got any more responses. We'll get into a little football, a little hoops talk as well a little bit later on this morning. If you haven't checked the leaderboards yet for our bracket challenge, we got Aaron in first place, Kathy right behind, just 1 point back, Mike 2 points back there, Adam 3 points back in fourth place. Then we got a group over there tied up in fifth place. But just head to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and you can see the icon right on the homepage. Click on that, click on the leaderboard, and you'll be able to see who's leading right now. Hopefully, if it stays that way, you're going to be winning some prizes from our good friends over at Hy-Vee. And don't forget about Free Beer Friday, this coming Friday, for March Madness and such. And then you got during the games, $2 man cave lights on tap. So looking for somewhere to watch the games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know where to go. It's over at our good friends from Hy-Vee. All right, pop quiz time. So we talked about obviously Giannis and another triple-double for him the other night against Toronto. But Giannis broke another record, broke another Milwaukee Bucks record. He set the record for the most games, franchise record for most games played in Milwaukee with 712. Some of you might have heard this, and you already might know the answer. If you don't, try not to look it up, okay? But who previously held that record? Who previously held the record before Giannis broke it of the franchise record for most games played in Milwaukee? Text me your answers, 715-830-1912 to show off your sports trivia knowledge. What do you got? All right. Or if you don't want to text, you can hit me up with a tweet, Facebook, and all that good stuff there too, or on the video stream, whatever is easier for you. Okay, you can text it or whatever's easier for you. So, all right, coming up next hour, we'll talk a little football. How frustrated, confused are you with the Packers offseason so far? Taking Aaron Rodgers out of the equation. How frustrated, confused are you with their plan in free agency? Or maybe you're wondering, why aren't they doing enough? Why are they not? Maybe making more moves. Let me know. We got a couple minutes to the top. Say good morning to Morgan. Good morning, Morgan.
How frustrated are you? 1 to 10.
I will say in the next hour.
Say now.
Now.
Okay, fine. So you're not going to spill it. Not even in. How about hold up a star rating? 1 to 5 frustrated stars. Okay.
Or
I can see that.
So between those two.
Okay, got it. Okay, yeah. There's a half and there's a 0.5 involved.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you have your pop quiz, and so I figured we would do another little pop quiz. Now turn the tables a little bit on you. Take it away from sports for a second and get a breather. Candy. What's your favorite candy?
Probably I might go Twix or Kit Kat.
Okay, so if you're sitting in a stadium watching a game and you go to concessions, you can pick anything you want from the sweet side. That's what you're going to grab?
Yeah.
Okay.
A movie theater would be the better analogy. I don't buy candy at Lambeau Field.
If you did.
Do they even sell candy at Lambeau Field?
I don't know, but I'm keeping it in the sports world for you. So, what candy bar was introduced in American soldiers' rations? Second World War.
M&Ms.
No.
What?
No.
I thought that was the M&Ms was introduced in military because that's
candy bar.
Oh, candy bar.
Candy bar. Okay. See, I need a buzzer over here.
Yeah.
I need the power of a game show buzzer under my wrist.
Okay, candy bar.
It's not like one of the ones that instantly comes to mind. I'll tell you that. But once you hear it, like it's not obscure. You'll know.
It's got to be something that doesn't melt.
Okay.
Right.
Or ever come out of your teeth. Think of that.
So it's got to be something with caramel.
Sort of.
It's not Snickers, is it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think
Heath bar.
Oh, okay.
I think I tried one of those in 5th grade, and it's still back in my molar teeth.
I like it in a mix of like ice cream and that.
Yeah, Heath Crunch ice cream, that's the jam. But I never really pick one even of itself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so speaking of M&Ms, though, do you know what the M&M even stands for on those?
Isn't it
it's a little bit of trivia.
Isn't it something for military?
Nope. It's the two creators.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So if you're digging into a candy bowl, it's going to make you feel a little smarter while you're getting sugar buzz today.
Yeah.
It stands for Mars and Murray,
okay.
The two original creators there. But I can tell you this, if we're going to keep talking M&Ms, there was a color that was discontinued in the 70s. It came back in the 80s. What color made a little short hiatus? sat on the shelves until they could get, safer dye made, and then brought it back in the
Is it
80s.
still active right now?
S-
That
Yeah.
color is still on it?
Yeah.
Safer dye. Is it red?
It is red.
Alright.
Red dye was like one of the hush hush no dyes, and they're like, well, let's just make it a little bit safer and bring it back in the 80s because let's face it,
Only
the
reason I
80s
know
were
that
quasi safe anyway.
people are allergic to red dye. That's the only reason I guess
Yes,
that, so
not anymore. Red dye, eat as many as you want. It's a
thanks, Mark.
vegetable.
Yeah. All right, second hour kicking off on this Grind My Gears Tuesday. What's grinding your gears? You can let us know by hitting us up with that quick text or tweet or Facebook or comment on the video stream. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in wherever you're tuning in at this point. So, James, I'm not sure. No, we're not asking frustration level with Rodgers. We're asking confusion or frustration level with the Packers. Free agency plans so far. So not Rodgers. We're taking Rodgers out of this whole equation, taking him completely out. Take him out. So we'll get to that. What are your frustration levels, or are you confusion level for the Green Bay Packers free agency offseason thus far? Not a whole lot of moves besides bringing back Keyshawn Nixon and Rudy Ford and signing a long snapper and that. One player that a lot of Packers fans kind of had their eyes on this year was maybe Dalton Schultz, tight end from the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to the Texans, though, on a one-year deal worth up to $9 million, which kind of tells you a little bit about maybe there's some incentives on there. But, where are you kind of at this point? So we'll hit that up here in just a little bit. The answer to your trivia question was Junior Bridgman. Junior Bridgman for the Bucks, who previously held the record for the most games played in Milwaukee franchise history. We got a little Badger chat. We're going to be catching up with RJ Cardinal coming up about 8:25 this morning. Obviously, we'll talk with a little bit of hoops as they take on Oregon tonight. But we got some spring football coming up too. And then we'll chat a little women's hockey again. So RJ, lots to catch up with RJ coming up at about 8:25 this morning. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day brought to you by Ansay Associates. 1946, the Los Angeles Rams signed Kenny Washington. Washington was the first black player to join a National Football League team since 1933. 1946 is, again, the first Mexican League baseball game was played. We've got 1953. The Boston Celtics beat Syracuse Nationals 111-105 in 4 overtimes to eliminate them from the Eastern Division semifinals. A total of 7 players, both teams combined, fouled out of the game. We've got 1968. The new American League franchise in Kansas City took the name the Royals. Wayne Gretzky in 1994 tied Gordie Howe's NHL record of 801 goals. In 1994, Michael Jordan was cut from the White Sox roster and was sent to their minor league club. Oh, what else do we got? Anything on here? I don't think. No, that's about it. Those are your sports nuggets of the day, brought to you by Ansay Associates. So, Packers been fairly quiet in this offseason so far, free agent offseason. According to Over the Cap, they've got about $23.5 million in available cap space. If we use Over the Cap and their numbers, Bears still have the most available with 41.4. They came into this season with nearly 100 million available in cap space. You got the Texans on here at 25.5. Then Atlanta, 24. I'm just rounding, about 24.2. The Cardinals at about 24. And then the Packers, again, these are numbers according to Over the Cap. Packers coming in at about 23.5. So that's 5th most cap space right now. So I've been kind of seeing the last couple days some fans questioning, kind of confused, maybe even a little frustrated in terms of what are they doing this offseason? What is their plan this offseason? They're kind of restructuring some players, Sewell, Devondre, Kenny Clark, David Bakhtiari, et cetera, et cetera. They will probably create some more cap space if they agree to a long-term deal with Rashawn Gary this year, lower that cap hit for this year. Obviously, it'll be different once the Aaron Rodgers thing comes to a conclusion. But for the most part, they've got some money to play with. Now, we know you got to save some of that money, too, for your draft class. You got to save some of that, and assuming that they get a deal done with the Jets before the draft this year, they'll get some more draft picks. Maybe it's that second rounder, kind of like our friend Peter King said yesterday. Maybe somehow Green Bay can get a first round pick from the Jets. That'll cost a little bit more, obviously, in terms of salary cap stuff. But for the most part, you got the Packers in a fairly comfortable, operating salary cap stuff. So how frustrated maybe are you with how the offseason is going? Or maybe you're not, because you're like, you know what? Outside of a few years ago when they signed Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith and Adrian Amos and Billy Turner, they're historically not that active. I don't get my hopes up. I'm at about like a 2.5. If we were like 1 through 5, I'm at about a 2.5, and I'm not trying to like, oh, it's halfway through, way to really think outside the box. There's part of me that's like, hey, this is the Green Bay way. We've gone through this every year. Anybody who really gets excited about free agency and you're a Packers fan, hey, I wish I was that optimistic all the time. We got spoiled in 2019 when they went on that wave of Zadarius and Preston. I remember doing the show that morning and, kind of following Twitter. It's like, hey, they got, I think, who was the first one? Was it Zadarius? I think it was Zadarius. It's like, whoa, then they got Preston Smith. We were thinking just maybe one of them could they go after. And then, Adrian Amos. And then who's that? Billy Turner. Oh, okay. It's like all in one day. It's like, who is this team? So that's not the norm. What happened in 2019. But the other part of me where I am kind of confused in some aspects is, okay, you still have some good players, some very, Aaron Jones, Jair Alexander. You've got some good pieces on this team. I don't necessarily think it's a full-on rebuild situation. So if you kind of wanted to take advantage of Jordan Love's final year, where that deal is going to be cheap, because Green Bay's probably going to pick up the 5th-year option on his deal, which that cap hit will come on next year's cap. So you're still getting by fairly cheap with Jordan Love this year. Would you kind of do what some teams have done with quarterbacks under rookie contracts and surround them with a bunch of talent in other places and take advantage of that a little bit? When you're looking at Jordan Love's cap hit for this year, it's at a meager $3.9 million. Again, I know a lot of this is, and the salary cap space available is all with Rodgers' contract still on the roster right now too. And I get it. It's going to be a little bit different. They're going to have to, take on a little bit more dead cap. They're going to have to take on a little bit more of that cap number once he gets traded. But still, they got money to play with. But are they going to play with it? That's the question. I don't know. So maybe they're just kind of still looking for some bargains, maybe not looking for long-term commitments, which I totally get at this stage. Maybe looking for the Devondre Campbell signings, the Rasul Douglas signings. Hey, maybe they bring back Adrian Amos on a 1-year deal. Stuff like that. Trying to fill out the roster with those kind of, I hate to make it sound this way, but essentially that's what it is. Bargains. They're doing a little bargain shopping here. But it seems like Green Bay is really still trying to keep that special teams core together, really solidifying the special teams group. I mean, they're going to have to figure out their kicking situation. Goody talking at the combine, it sure sounded like they were going to bring back Mason Crosby. They solidified their long snapping situation for a couple of years. They still got Pat O'Donnell under contract for another year. Brought back Keyshawn Nixon. Brought back Rudy Ford, who's a special teams cover ace. So they're trying to keep that group together for sure. But you kind of look at some of the holes on the offense and the defensive side of things, like, tight end. Would they bring in a tight end but still draft a younger tight end so they didn't have to maybe put all their eggs in one basket with a rookie tight end, because as we've seen in the past, as we've talked about many times, first round tight ends, you know, it's a crapshoot sometimes. So it's one of the most difficult positions to figure out in the draft. That's what every single scout, I swear, has always said. I mean, you look at some of the best tight ends in the league right now, they weren't first round picks. Travis Kelce wasn't a first round pick. George Kittle wasn't a first round pick. Gronk wasn't a first round pick when he was playing. TJ Hawkinson was a first round pick, if you want to put him into that group there. But you kind of look at the depth. It's Tyler Davis. It's Josiah DeGuara, who's maybe a little bit more of an H-back type of role. So I don't know. I figured that, and they still could. They could still go out there and find another tight end. But I know a lot of Packers fans were kind of like eyeing up a guy like Dalton Schultz, the tight end for the Cowboys the past few years. Like, could he be somebody Green Bay tries to bring in? And then lo and behold, he signs with the Texans for 1 year up to $9 million. Which, to a lot of Packers fans on social media wires, are like, we couldn't afford that. We couldn't make a move for that. So I think that adds to the confusion for a lot of people, for a lot of Packers fans out there, of what this plan is like for the offseason. What is the goal? What is the plan? I really don't know, and I'll be honest with you, like, I don't know how this draft is like. I've tried to do the Pro Football Focus mock drafts, and I've done it both with if the Packers somehow get a first round pick from the Jets, and I've done it with maybe they just get this year's second round pick. And I find myself after, like, I get to the third or fourth round, I'm like, crap. I don't have a safety, or I don't have a wide receiver. Because I feel like this team, even though they've got some good, talented players at different levels, they still got quite a few bit of holes, and I don't know if they can fill all those holes in the first couple of rounds of the draft. I don't know if they can do that. They need another wide receiver. They need another tight end. They probably need another offensive tackle, a defensive lineman. I wouldn't mind another edge rusher, a safety. That's 6 right there. That's 6 positions. Some probably a little bit more important than others, right? Probably a little bit more important than others. But I was getting to the point where I was like doing these mocks, and I'm like in the 6th round, and I'm like, well, dang it, I still need a tackle or, edge rusher or something like that. Because at this current point of how Green Bay has gone about the first week of free agency, it has not given me the greatest sense of where their priorities are going to be heading into this draft. Because right now they still got a lot. Like, they didn't fill any of those holes. They didn't fill any of these needs so far in free agency. I don't know how to make it. I don't know where it's going to go. Because I look at this right now, like I just said, tight end, wide receiver, offensive lineman, defensive lineman, safety for sure. And depending on Rashawn Gary's recovery time for ACL, I'd probably put in another edge rusher on this thing. Have some depth with your edge rushers. Preston, Rashawn, Enagbare, for a rookie year, had his ups and downs. Okay, he's your third option, but who's your fourth? We know Joe Barry and the Packers want to do that rotation. They want to rotate guys in all the time. Well, if you're going to rotate guys in, you better have some dang talented players in there to where it's not such a huge drop off from your one unit to your 2 unit. And this run defense, you got Kenny Clark. We're going to see Wyatt get more playing time this year. And maybe Wyatt can make a huge difference in the run defense. But you still need another down lineman. You still need another guy in there. Reed's gone. He went back to Seattle. You got TJ Slayton. But I still want another defense line. I look at some of the best defenses in the entire league. I mean, look at the 49ers for crying out loud. They had another defense, the Hargrove from Philly. You look at these best defenses, they stack up the big boys, the big guys up front in the trenches. That's like I know a lot of Packers fans will probably be upset. Say Green Bay invests in a defensive lineman early in the draft. I wouldn't be that upset. I just want the guy to play though. I don't want him to be like, okay, we're going to ease him on in, a few snaps here and there. I mean, you got to get a guy that's going to play right away. I just want to build up that trenches in that front and just get a defensive front seven that is so dominating. But I don't know. I am a little confused. On one hand, I get it because this is the Packers way. But at the same time, the Packers way has always had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Since 2008, it's been Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Now it's 2023. It's going to be Jordan Love. You got one more year left on that rookie deal. You still got Aaron Jones. You still got some good veteran players on this ball club. You got a lot of young talent too. Christian Watson only going into his second year. Do you try to add that talent to maybe try to make a run? Or what's the plan for this offseason? I think maybe it's Green Bay just kind of sticking with what they always do. Trying to find those bargains, letting that first wave of free agency go through, letting the market kind of maybe settle down a little bit. Although I don't think there's been a lot of extreme contracts or a lot of extreme stuff out there. But now kind of looking for the second wave, filling in some spots there. I don't think Green Bay, let me rephrase that. I think Green Bay will make some moves. I think they'll sign a few more players before the draft. I don't have a good gauge of where they're going to address those needs at this current point. But right now, if you're doing the mock drafts like me, I don't know. Like I've done so many different just for fun, like just to kind of see where everything's falling. And I think I've had like 6 different first round picks at this point. And a lot will depend on what they get in return from the Jets. Can they somehow get that first round pick? I kind of have my doubts at this point. If it's a second round pick, where does that go to? Where do they spend that first round pick on then? Will they feel comfortable if a tight end is going to be there in the second round? Do they have to trade back up in the first round to get somebody? I don't know. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we'll talk a little bit more green and gold with Joe. He's coming up after these quick words. April 7th, we'll be over at Hy-Vee doing our show live over there because, well, one, it's the Friday of the Masters, so we'll be in a little bit of a golf mood there. But big thanks to our awesome friends at Carpet City Flooring Center because they're putting together an amazing putting green for all of us, and we're gonna have a putting contest there throughout the entire morning. And because Carpet City Flooring Center is amazing, they're also uh, giving away a new putter, Odyssey putter, Callaway driver. So everybody's going to get 3 putts. Everybody's going to get a shot. The more putts you make, the more tickets you're going to win for your chance for the raffle to win either that putter or driver. So if you're heading to work on April 7th, Friday morning, stop by quick at Hy-Vee, get your 3 putts in, make them. We'll put your names in the drawing. The more putts you make, the more tickets you get, and then you're on your way to work. That's simple. It'll be quick, in and out. Or if you got the day off, you can hang out a little bit over there too. Hy-Vee, they're going to do some Masters theme menu and all that sort of stuff. So that's coming up on April 7th. But before that too, we've got an opening day viewing party, March 30th, which is next Thursday, taking on Brewers versus Cubs. We're going to be grilling out and that sort of thing at Hy-Vee. So that'll start around noon. Game's going to be about 125-ish, I believe. So we'll have a opening day viewing party, grill out party there. Then March 31st, we'll be over at the West Side Bar and Grill from about 12 to 2 because, well, they've got Man Cave Light on tap over at West Side Bar and Grill. And they've also partnered up with our good friends from Mike's Star Market, which is their neighbor over there too. So for $6, you get a Man Cave Light, a Man Cave Light pint, and a Mike's Star Market Man Cave Light brat. If you take that receipt over, walk it on over to Mike's Star Market, you're going to get $1 off a package of Man Cave Light brats. So we got a lot of things going on. Plus, of course, we were just talking about that Packers tailgate tour on April 11th, and we got our NFL draft show coming up April 27th. So a lot of things going on. We got the calendar up so you can check it out and make sure you're stopping by and hanging out with us. All right, speaking of a little green and gold here this morning, we'll continue our chat about the Packers. We got Joe joining us here this morning. Joe, Packers are about 5th, according to Over the Cap, an available an available cap space. We were asking, kind of talking about, are you confused, frustrated with what the Packers are doing so far this offseason and taking away the Aaron Rodgers thing? Because really they're not making a whole lot of moves at this point. Are you confused? Are you frustrated? How do you view what the Packers are doing this offseason so far with that cap space available?
Oh, they're doing what they have to do. And so one of the guys that I follow pretty closely, and I'm sure you do as well, is Ken Ingalls. And when you look at where the Packers are today from a cap standpoint and where they are with everything taken into consideration, including draft choices and everything else that you have to do, there really isn't a lot of room to play. And so for this team to go out and to solidify the special teams and solidify the safety position, I think Green Bay is doing exactly what they have to do. And again, they don't have the room. And really, when you look at it, and Ingalls breaks it down, they're about only, when it's all said and done, $2 or $3 million spare room when you look at where they want to be during the season, et cetera, et cetera. So, they are in a tight cap situation. And I'm absolutely okay with going out and getting guys that like Rudy Ford and Valentine and those types of guys that can solidify your secondary, but also make your special teams better. And so, Packer fans need to, I'll do an Aaron Rodgers take on this, need to relax when it comes to free agents, because until this cap clears up and the cap situation clears up for the Green Bay Packers, they're just not going to be players in free agents.
Yeah, I mean, but they're still they got the 5th most, and they can create some more with Rashawn Gary in there too. I mean, I feel, because I think a lot of frustration from Packers fans is they see a guy like Dalton Schultz signed with the Texans, who don't even have a quarterback, for 1 year that's only up to $9 million, which is incentives on there. So I think, you got a team here that has a lot of good pieces still attached to it, but are they doing enough maybe to take advantage of Jordan Love under that 1 year left on that rookie deal at this point?
Yeah, I again, I think Green Bay is doing what they can to go out and solidify certain positions on this football team. I never thought, excuse me, I never thought that they were going to be players in free agency this year. Just because, look, if you get players back from the Aaron Rodgers trade, you've got to take into consideration taking on those players as well. So, let's say, and again, I know Corey Davis has been rumored as being part of an Aaron Rodgers trade, but right now, Dalton Schultz on a 1-year deal, I don't think that makes a huge difference. I just don't. And there's a reason that he was out there as one of the unsigned free agents. And so, yeah, I'm not disappointed at all at how Green Bay is approaching this offseason, because I knew that they were already kicking the cap down the road, and they've got to, at some point, get out of this cap situation. They went out, they re-signed Keyshawn Nixon. Like I said, Rudy Ford, they signed Moore, the safety from the 49ers. And so, again, I think they're putting pieces together to make the special teams better and to make the defense better, because that's how this team is going to win, is the other 2/3. Aaron Rodgers is not going to carry them. Jordan Love's not going to carry them. And I think the other 2/3 of the team need to be solidified.
I'm just going to play devil's advocate with you here then. So are we wasting Aaron Jones with what might be his final year with Green Bay? Because his cap hit next year is almost $18 million.
You know what? I don't think we're wasting Aaron Jones. I don't see it that way. I see him being an integral piece of the puzzle. And running back is such a tricky position, because you don't know when that cliff hits. You don't know when that guy, the tread on the tires, gets too thin. And so I don't think so. And, it was encouraging to me that reports, and I don't want to make a big deal about this, but reports are coming out that Aaron Jones and Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs are going out to work out with Jordan Love. And I think that's encouraging. And I look at Aaron Jones still as one of the top 5 or 6 backs in the NFL, and you just don't know what to do with that running back position, because again, it's such a teeter-totter. One slight move, one slight injury, and now that guy, too much tread on the tires, et cetera, et cetera. So, I think it's encouraging. And again, my expectations for this football season, it's going to be very, very similar to my expectations the first year that Aaron Rodgers was a starter. And I think this team needs to reset, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. And I think they need to get out of salary cap hell and put themselves in a position where they can start building this team again. And so it is what it is, Packer fans. And it's one of those where, we've gone through it before as fans, and I think we're going to see it again. And so that's why I look at the 1-year deal. Dalton Schultz, if this team were a Dalton Schultz away from competing for a Super Bowl this year, I'd say absolutely go make that happen. But I think the Packers moves, what they've done in free agency, and again, I understand it's not a lot, but they have solidified that secondary. And so I look at it, and now the Packers draft needs, I think, really come into focus. With Robert Tonyan signing with the Bears, I think tight end now moved up, I think, into that number 1 position of need for the Green Bay Packers when you start looking at the draft. And so I think it's, we're towards the end of March, and I think it's really at this point, this team, when you get the trade done with the Jets, it's going to be pretty much what it is right now. And so, hopefully, a lot of names have been tossed around now with the Jets, like Jermaine Johnson. There's still the Elijah Moore talk. There's a couple of other players on the Jets that would fit nicely that are on those rookie deals still. But this football team is going to have another successful draft class for it to be successful this year.
I know a lot of people are talking about what that draft comp is going to be. I know a lot of Packers fans are expecting a first-round pick. I don't think it's going to be a first-round pick at this point. I know we had Peter King on yesterday. He doesn't think it's going to be a first-round pick at this point either. How disappointing will you be if it's not a first-round pick?
I think, and again, I listened to your podcast yesterday with Peter King, and I thought it was brilliant stuff. I always enjoy hearing the two of you on, Captain. It's really good stuff. And so, King is one of the guys that I look to. Andrew Brandt is another guy that I look to and rely on when I look into these types of situations. And Brandt had an article that basically said, look, the leverage that is being thrown out sits with the team that is most satisfied with the status quo, and that's the Green Bay Packers. And Brandt thinks that, look, the Jets need to go out and get this done. They need to do whatever they can to get this deal done. And so I think, I've said this all along, I think there's going to be something that looks like a first-round pick. And when I say that, there's a couple of different ways to get there. When you look at the pick value chart, you can get there with a second and third. Would I take a guy that was drafted in the first couple of rounds, young player, ascending player, and a conditional number one? Absolutely. I still think somewhere, somehow, whether you look at trade value charts, you look at players, or you look at conditional picks, there's going to be a number one involved in this trade.
Well, and that's what I was kind of curious about when Peter threw out the scenario, a second-round pick this year, and then if Aaron plays, 100 more snaps. If he plays the second year and plays 100 more snaps, which is just a couple games worth there, then it turns into a 2025 first-round pick, not 2024, but 2025. I would be okay with that one. I know Packers fans, well, we got to wait till 2025 for that, but I mean, that's a first and a second-round pick at that point, which, for a guy who's going to be 40 this year, I'd be okay with that. Would you be okay with that?
Absolutely. And look, like I said, any trade value that's commensurate that has that first round value. And like I said, I'd even be okay with a player. And again, I really like Johnson, the rush linebacker out of Florida State. And he was a first round pick. And so I'd be okay with him, and that solves the need because obviously the Packers need some depth at that rush position, and then a conditional pick, and him a second round pick, and then a conditional pick moving forward. I think that conditional pick is the critical part of the puzzle, and I think that might be where the Packers are digging their heels in, and the Jets as well, because Aaron Rodgers was a guy that said 90% going into the darkness he was going to retire.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jets at this point are like, look, and it's so funny listening to Jets fans because on the one hand they say, well, Rodgers isn't worth that much. On the other hand, they say, well, he's the missing link to a Super Bowl run. So I think the Jets still need to pony up, but they need a guarantee. They need some type of protection moving forward to say Aaron Rodgers is going to play more than 1 year. And I don't think that's a guarantee. Mm-hmm. If this year doesn't go great for Rodgers, let's say, they're a 10-7 football team and maybe a 6 seed and maybe they're one and done in the playoffs. I don't consider that a successful season if you're trading for Aaron Rodgers. And so Aaron at that point might say, you know what, guys, I'm not going to continue to put myself through this when I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I think that conditional pick is really a big part of the puzzle here. And again, I think Green Bay gets some type of combination that equals a first round pick. Either that's a conditional pick, either that's multiple picks that when you look at the value chart, or it's an ascending player on that rookie deal who might have been a first round pick. So I think that, and I do think this deal gets done before the draft. I really do. And I'll tell you, if it doesn't get done before the draft, all the leverage then completely goes to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, It actually helps Green Bay to have this thing drag on after June 1st. And so if the Jets don't agree to something before the draft, then I don't see this deal getting done until at some point in the summer after June 1st.
Yeah, it's so weird to see I agree with you on the post-draft leverage. It's completely Green Bay. It's just so I kind of chuckle at the constant debate on Twitter about who has the most leverage in that. And, like the Andrew Brandts of the world who have been in that situation, these people, but then you've got, Aaron's PR guy, Pat McAfee, just dying on that sword saying it's all, Green Bay doesn't have any leverage sort of thing. And it's like, okay, we know what you're trying to do here, guy. So it's just like, come on now, I think it's just a game of chicken at this point, isn't it? Who's going to blink first?
Yeah, it totally is. And again, I look at, and I've thought about this, Captain. How ridiculous would have the Brett Favre saga been with social media?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, because that was him showing up at family night and just that was fraught with much more drama than this is. And I think I look back and I'm like, man, I'm glad we didn't have social media like we do, because everyone is out there with an opinion. And for me, look, it's the Peter Kings of the world. It's the Andrew Brandts of the world. It's the Scott Piolis of the world. It's these guys that have been in that room and are true insiders that I think have the insight. And when I look at Pat McAfee, and I enjoy McAfee's show, and I think he's entertaining, but that's his job is to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
His job is not to inform. He is not an NFL insider. Yes, he played in the NFL, and yes, he's got connections. But I'd rather go with someone who's been in that front office, or someone like Peter King, who has been in and out of war rooms over the years. Pat Kerwin, he's another guy that I lean on pretty heavily as far as information goes. So yeah, it's comical to me what's happening right now on social media between Jets fans and Packer fans. And I hate to go Aaron Rodgers, but it's kind of one of those things where I just want to say RELAX. Relax, everyone. I think this deal is going to get done. I think Joe Douglas and Brian Gutekunst, contrary to Pat McAfee, I think they're both smart.
Yeah, that was one of the most ridiculous things I think I heard in a while. The whole then he tried to backtrack it. Well, they're smart humans, but are they smart GMs? I'm like, dude, just stop. Just stop right now.
Stop. You're digging a hole. I mean, and here's the thing. And does Brian Gutekunst have to take some blame for this divorce? Of course he does. Of course he does. Is Brian Gutekunst butt on the line with Jordan Love? Yes. I mean, he knew that when he made the move, that his legacy as a general manager is going to be tied to how Jordan Love does, because there's no question trading up to get a guy, regardless of who you were trading up for, because there's speculation trying to get Jefferson and Ayuk, and Jordan Love was next on the board. But everyone knew that Goody's legacy, regardless of Jair Alexander drafting and the trade with the Saints to get an extra pick, or however the Devontae Adams trade goes, and everything's going to be tied for his success or failure. And McAfee did admit to this, that we're going to find out very quickly over the next 2 to 3 years whether or not Brian Gutekunst is a good general manager, because drafting a quarterback is such an inexact science. And for those Jets fans out there, sorry, Captain, still fighting a cold here, but for those Jets fans out there that say that Joe Douglas is brilliant, he's the guy that drafted Zach Wilson.
Exactly. Yeah.
and so it's like, if he's so brilliant, why is he now looking to get a quarterback when he just drafted one, number 2 overall? So we'll see. But Goody's legacy was always going to be tied to Jordan Love. Period.
Last question for you here. I'm curious to get your thoughts, but we've talked about it where, it sure seems like, at least from our listeners all across social media, it's split, or maybe even a little bit slight majority are, happy to see Rodgers go, or like good with Aaron Rodgers going. You think a lot of that is due to the last couple of years of Aaron? And this was a quote from Randy Mueller, who former general manager too. He had put it in the Football GM podcast, but he talked about, he answered the question, why isn't there more suitors for Aaron Rodgers? And he noted him being on Pat's show, and everybody kind of just waiting every Tuesday morning to see what bomb he's going to drop, or what is he going to say, some passive aggressive comment. Do you think that's where maybe a lot of Packers fans are just kind of like, all right, I'm also done with this? That's why they're happy to move on?
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting, because I still take the side that, in my opinion, regardless of anything else, Aaron Rodgers, arguably best thrower of the football of all time. And I don't use the term quarterback, because the rings have weighed so much into that debate. But I think he truly, you could say, the best thrower of the football of all time. And so, for me, am I sad to see this run end? Yeah, I am. I think Rodgers provided Packer Nation with 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 15 years of going into a game pretty much knowing you had a shot to win almost every game because of 12. And so, am I to the point though where it's time? Yeah, I absolutely am. Am I anti Aaron Rodgers? No. Am I anti Brian Gutekunst? No. I mean, they're at the point, and I think you can like Aaron Rodgers and appreciate what he did for this franchise and still agree that it's time to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I go back to Andrew Brandt. The parallels between Favre and Rodgers are so eerie. And I mean, you know, even when Rodgers was talking about his love for Ted Thompson and Bob Harlan, Brett Favre did the same thing with Ron Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at even to the team that they were both going to be traded for or traded for. It's just eerie to me as far as the fact that Packer fans not only have had 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterbacking, but both divorces ended the same way. So just a really interesting history repeating itself. And again, Brandt has said this, I think it's funny as heck, that it's going to be so exciting to see the drama around the 2038 trade of Jordan Love to the New York Jets.
Yep, I think we're all counting on that to happen. So, all right, Joe, appreciate it as always. Good chatting with you. We'll do it again next week, sir.
All right, brother. Take care, man.
You got it. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. We've got to take a really quick break because we're running out of time. We've got a little hockey talk coming up at the top of the hour. Chip of Steel making a push for the postseason. We'll catch up with Coach Casey just past 8 o'clock. All right, we only got a couple minutes to the top of the hour here. It's going to be a busy 8 o'clock hour because we'll kick things off talking a little hockey as the Chippewa Steel regular season is going to be wrapping up here. And things are really close in the standings. The Steel have made things really interesting in this playoff chase here, moving up to fourth in the Midwest Division, 57 points. Their Kenai's also got 57 points. They're in fifth, but Chippewa Steel just 1 point back from Fairbanks in the point standings. But Fairbanks have also played 3 more games than the Steel too. So got a big few games coming up here. We'll catch up with Coach Casey here in just a few minutes. Then after that, we've got RJ Cardinal hopping on, our Badger analyst, the zone in Madison. A lot of things to catch up on. We got Badger Hoops tonight going up against Oregon in the NIT. We got some spring ball practice coming up here. And, of course, we'll talk a little women's hockey, 7-time national champion women's hockey. A lot of you, we kind of threw out the Badger Mount Rushmore topic yesterday. We'll see who RJ puts on there. Does he have Mark Johnson on there? Does he have Ron Dane on there? That was the most popular player pick from everybody yesterday. Who else would he have on there? So we'll hit up RJ coming up at about, let's say, 8:25 this morning. Also, we got a little Grind My Gears to get to. If you haven't sent over your Grind My Gears Tuesday stuff, do so. Plus, we got a press pass. We'll get to all that coming up in the final hour here. I know we're kind of playing a little catch-up here, but your press pass, if you could ask one question to anybody in the sports world and you know you are going to get a truthful answer, what would that question be? What would that question be? So think about, I'll just tell you what my press pass question is right now. My press pass question would be to Goody and be like, what are you demanding right now? Like, what is his trade package that he is demanding right now? Is it a first rounder and more picks? Is it a first rounder and a player? What is his like asking price right now? Legitimately, what is he like telling Joe Douglas this is what it's going to cost? This is going to, I want to know what those trade packages, what those proposals have been like back and forth. If that's one question that I could ask that I know I would get a truthful answer to, I want to know what those trade packages have been proposed back and forth. So I guess it'd be a little Goody and Joe Douglas. So if you got any press pass questions that you want to ask, send them on over, okay? And don't forget, send me your Grind My Gears. We got 2 in, 1 more to go. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. All right, final hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning. Appreciate you all tuning in and making us a part of your start on this March 21st. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll catch up on stuff with RJ Cardinal. Obviously, women's hockey national champions, 7-time national champions. Mark Johnson over there doing a fine job. More than a fine job, but you know the drill. We got some hoops, Badger hoops, also back in action tonight, plus some spring ball action coming up here for football. But we catch up with our good buddy Coach Casey from the Red Hot Chippewa Steel right now.
Morning.
How you doing, bud?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Maybe not as good as you right now, with kind of looking where things are trending with you guys. Currently now in the standings, fourth. At 57 points. You're 1 point back from Fairbanks, but they've also played 3 more games than you guys. So, I mean, you guys got to be feeling pretty good where you're at right now, I have to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I think happy with how it's been going as of late. You know, obviously, like you said, it's still so tight. I mean, it's hard to really feel comfortable, you know, and at any point here over the next 4 weekends. But you know, we've played well. We've gotten some points. We've put ourselves in a good spot, and you know, kind of in complete control, really, of our destiny, which is all you can ask for.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. I was literally gonna ask that same thing that you just mentioned, controlling your own destiny. You're in that spot right now. I mean, does that change your mindset? Does that change how you go about things? Are you still in that playoff mentality that you've kind of
Yeah, I think we're
bit?
still in that same mentality. I mean, you still have to win those games, right? So for us, I don't think anything changes. I think this has been good for us. I've seen our play really elevate here over the last few weeks, and yeah, it's exciting. And I mean, we just want to keep getting a little bit better every day. Same story. Yeah, just like you said, take care of business and hopefully maybe get that X next to our name sooner than later.
Right, the clinched spot on the standings there. You mentioned, I mean, it seems like your guys and you guys are rising to that challenge. You mentioned how well you guys have been playing. Obviously, I mean, the proofs and the stats and the wins and all that. But it sure seems like you guys are accepting that challenge and rising to that challenge too. Like the boys have embraced it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, our goal has been the same all year, and we want to make the playoffs, and we want to have a push. And you know, it's been a bit of a up and down year. Where, you know, I was talking to Brandon Berg yesterday. Yep. You know, we still have a really young, you know, a young team, you know, and guys that don't have a whole lot of experience in playing at this level. So, you know, now there's guys who are, you know, getting to that 40 plus 50, you know, 50 game mark, and you can see them every day, like getting immensely better. You know, it's kind of baby steps at early on. But now it's at the point where you can see, you know, they're taking kind of leaps and bounds in their game, just feeling that much more comfortable and in the pace and everything that goes on, and feeling comfortable making some plays. You know, a couple 2 weekends in a row, big goals from you know, Matt Grannon and Noah Grolnick, guys who are first year guys who, you know, their point totals are okay for first year guys, but have been playing, I think, immensely better than that, and it's great to see them get rewarded.
And then, I mean, you know, with just these left here, scheduled note too, in case anybody wondering, the games are Thursday and Friday this week. So home games for the Steel, which for promotional wise, I mean, you got $2 beer night for the first one up there. Then it's free kids on the 24th, first 200 kids presented by Chippewa Valley Technical College, autograph night there too. So get some signatures.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of these kids going to be playing at the next high level, D1 hockey and such. But you look at this upcoming schedule, it ain't going to be easy either, is it? Because you've got, you know, Wisconsin coming up here, and then you make your Alaska trip over there too.
Yeah.
But their team's above you in the standings, so a chance to make up some ground, or even make up more ground, I should say.
Yeah, I think it's nice to be able to play the teams that you're chasing, right? I mean, like then it's in your control, not hoping for somebody else to kind of do your business for you. So I think we're excited, and we understand. Listen, the Wendigo have had a great year, and you feels like the division is going to have to go through them at some point. So for us to get a chance to play them again, and maybe, a little statement, saying, hey, we're coming. Like, I think we're ready for that challenge and ready to play them on home ice. And yeah, it'll be exciting. But for sure, the Alaska trip is one we've kind of known,
right,
was gonna have a pretty big impact on what the playoff standings looked like. So, and again, the Springfield Junior Blues are in last place. They just sweep Fairbanks last weekend. So, our division is incredibly competitive and tight, and that's great for us. And but yeah, again, I think it's nice that we get to play, especially Fairbanks and Anchorage, two teams that are, we're directly competing with for those spots. Those turn into 4-point nights. And we feel confident in our game right now.
Yeah. I mean, does that, going up against Wisconsin with the Wendigo, that's tough to say, with the Wendigo over there. Do you guys talk about, the previous games where there were kind of battles and they maybe had a little bit of an advantage over you? Do you bring that up with your team at all, or do you kind of forget about those games and just focus on what's in front of you?
I don't think we don't talk about it a lot. I mean, we show some video and we'll be prepared for them, but we're not going to bring up the past. And yeah, I just don't know how much benefit that has for us. I mean, it was fairly recently, so the team is going to be pretty similar. But the results, I don't really think impact what's going to happen this weekend.
What's the biggest challenge they present to you guys?
That's a good question. I mean, I think their lineup is fairly deep. Their D are big and kind of heavy, and goaltending's been solid for them all year. Like I said, I think they're built really well to play in their barn. It's just a little bit quirky. There are some oddities to the rink that, for us only being there 4 times a year, it feels like it takes us, a period or two to kind of get into the mix of the rink. And I do feel that plays a factor in kind of how they built their team, and it shows, like with their home record. They've been really good at home. So that's kind of why I said we're excited to kind of play them here, get them away from that home ice advantage, and see how we stack up against them.
When you say it's kind of quirky, what are some of the quirkiness?
Well, I think it's a little bit narrower than a normal rink. The benches are almost entirely in the offensive and defensive zone, so it kind of changes your line change a little bit. The boards are like really, really lively. So, there's just a few things that it's no excuse. It's just, I mean, that's just how it is. It's just a little bit different, and they get to practice and play there all the time, so they kind of know it a little bit more. The changes, the benches is obviously, it's something that is just subconscious. You're used to a bench being in a certain spot, right? And in that second period, for sure, like it's a really long way for our defensemen to have to go to get off the ice. And again, it's just something that you're used to skating to a certain spot on a rink to get off the ice, and now you have to skate another 10 feet, and that could be the difference sometimes in either getting caught or giving up breakaways and stuff like that. So it's just, again, there are some quirks to it that by now we should be used to, but again, you play there 4 times a year,
right?
Over the course of 60 games, it feels like it takes us a little bit of time to kind of get used to some of those things.
Do you feel like, or is this kind of a message for your team this week? Obviously, with Alaska coming up next week, are you trying not to? And I know we're all human, so I mean, thinking about, but that's a trip that I'm sure everybody's kind of thinking about. But you got a big game coming up this week, so are you trying, or are you telling your team, like, don't focus on Alaska and all that sort of stuff? Just, we got to focus, or do you think they already kind of know that because we are at the end of the season here? It is a tight race with this playoff spot on the line.
Yeah.
That kind of takes care of itself.
I mean, again, we've talked about this a lot in here. Like, I'm not shy to talk about the big picture with our team. So I think everyone is, fully aware of what's at stake on that trip. But we've done a really good job this year, kind of taking it one day at a time and not getting too far ahead of ourselves. So, I think we have the ability to kind of understand the importance of the trip, but still be able to focus on, this weekend. So yeah, it's a little bit of a weird week, obviously playing on a Thursday. So,
right.
We'll kind of 2 days of practice and then get right into it.
Now, is this the first time for some of your kids going to Alaska too for this trip?
For
some of them?
Yes. Yep. I mean,
Okay.
for sure. Obviously, some of the high school guys that we just added. I'd have to kind of go back and check, but yeah, there'll be some guys that this will be their first experience.
So do you kind of maybe kind of so I'm asking you Alaska trips because obviously you won't be here next week too, unless you want to, kind of with the time change and all.
Yeah.
Is that a factor for you guys when you do you think that's an advantage though for you, or you rely on those players that have done it a couple times to kind of that leadership role and kind of tell these younger players to kind of follow suit a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an experience to go up there. Luckily, for just the 3 high school guys that, just joined us, they all played in the state tournament at the XL. So, especially Sam Sheets, being a state champion over there, they played in front of 19,000 people on Saturday night. So, the Dipper, obviously as great of a crowd as it is, it's only, 2,300 people. So, but it is a little different of a crowd. It's a little bit more raucous and maybe against you up there. But I don't think that'll be an issue for them. But it'll be, it's always a unique experience going up there. And
right.
Same thing. Anchorage has, tremendous crowds and it'll be loud and kind of raucous as well. So, but yeah, I mean, it's nice that we've had guys go up there now. This will be their 4th trip up there. So, kind of standard operating procedure at this point, and just kind of get up there and try and get right on the, like you said, the time and go from there.
Do you, during this stretch of, great games that you guys have been having these last few weeks, has there been something that you can see that's different, like singular? Has it been, just, maybe you're just finishing games, but like what is there something that's really stood out to you during this stretch of games that you guys have been putting together?
It's a good question. I think just as a complete team, we're playing the right way, being consistent. Adam has had a lion's share of the net and has been, outstanding for us pretty much every night, giving us a chance. I think he's 2 goals or less in his last 6 or 7 games, so we feel, right now the way he's going that we've got a chance every night, no matter what. I mean, you kind of look at the Springfield weekend, we go down 2-0 early to them. We battle back. We find a way to win. We go up early, now we're up 3-0. It gets close 3-2, but still find a way to win a game. So, I think guys are contributing that haven't been maybe all year. And again, I just think it's, kind of a testament to our players and how much work they've put in to improve and work on their games, and now seeing the results. And again, both games this weekend were down, come back, tie, win the first one, lose and shoot out the next night. So, it just, we've been resilient all year. We don't give up. So it's nice to see us it feels like we're kind of being battle tested for playoffs. I think that those games are going to be 2-1, 3-2, really close, hard fought games. And we're kind of proving that we have the ability to win that way, which maybe we didn't early on,
How much will those new high schoolers come in, be a part of the rotation or that? I mean, because you are in this battle for a playoff spot, they are new to the team. Is that something you're still kind of trying to go through and figure out? Or
yeah, I think everyone's a little different. I mean, the 2 forwards we brought in played both games this weekend. They'll probably be in there for a while. Try to get them up to speed as quickly as possible. And I think on the defensive side, we're still a little banged up. So Tyler Lafferty actually got to play this weekend as well. Got some games, got some minutes back there, but he's only playing as an affiliate player, which means he can't play in the playoffs.
Okay.
The other 2 guys are on our roster for the playoffs. So a little bit different scenarios there. So yeah, I mean, it's just trying to shorten their, we talk about the guys, the other young guys who have played 40, 50 games, right? And now are starting to really kind of feel comfortable. We're going to try and speed that process up for these guys as quickly as we can so they can help.
Right. So, with these last few games coming up here, I mean, if there was a singular message that you could tell your team right now as, they're trying to clinch this playoff spot, they've got tough games. You guys got tough games coming up here. If there was a singular message you could tell your team, or maybe you have already, what would that message be?
Yeah, I think it's we just want to trust the way that we've been playing all year. We don't have to get away from that. You don't have to do anything different. We just have to believe and trust in our game and our process, and just really commit to being the best Chippewa Steel team that we can be. And like I said, I thought Friday night was one of the more complete efforts and compete and just doing things the right way and getting chances. And for us, it's just continuing to find a way to finish some of those chances. But yeah, I mean, it's just we've played a certain way the whole year. I'd like us to just continue to buy in and be the best Chippewa Steel team that we can be.
Mm-hmm. So you got your games again Thursday and Friday this week. A little bit of a change in the schedule here. Is that because your Alaska trip or preparing for a little bit, or is that?
I don't believe so. I think there was something originally it was supposed to, and I'm not sure something had changed.
Gotcha. So. Well, regardless, Thursday and Friday, get over to the Ice Arena. As we mentioned, it's $2 beer nights for the first one. I mean, come on, that's $2 beers there. And then for the kiddos on Friday, their first 200 free autograph night over there as well. It's not your last home one though, because you got that one still coming up at the end of the season. For the last one, and depending on how things go, that might be a big one over there too. And just to tell you the dates right now, April 14th and the 15th. So circle it on your calendars over there too. So do you have any, before I let you go here, because this will be the last time I talk to you probably since April, until April here. Do you have any traditions you usually do on these long road trips? Are you superstitious in that way? I know you like download some Netflix movies or something like that. Is there anything you're looking forward to catching up on, or?
No, not yet. I haven't really looked, but that'll be on the,
to-do list.
I'll be having some Netflix downloaded for the trip, but no, nothing really superstitious. I mean, just got to remember that neck pillow. That's a big one.
I got to ask you this. Do you get butterflies still in your stomach before game start as a coach? Do you get a little nervous? Have you been getting a little bit more nervous because these games are so, important at all? Are you the calm, cool collective? Or do you look like you're calm, cool collective, and then just inside you're just churning?
I mean, I don't know, just maybe feeling it a little bit. I wouldn't say nervous, just feeling it a little bit more.
Do you get as pumped as you were when you were a player?
No.
I
mean, like I'm excited for sure, but like, I tell our guys all the time, like, it's not my job and it's not our doc, our assistant. Like, we're not here to turn you guys on. Like that's not our job. And we're here to prepare you and make sure you have all the answers and then help you get through, the tests or the games. But, if you can't get pumped up and excited to play games like this that are so, I don't know, I can't help you. Right? I mean, I just can't, I did kind of give a little rah-rah in between the second and third, like before we went out on Friday night. I felt we were playing really well, not having scored, and just kind of tried to give them a little bit more juice at that point, but to start a game, I don't think that's what I'm here to do, and that might be wrong. I don't know, but I feel like these guys need to find a way to be able to get themselves going, and then that's as a coach, that's not really how I see my job title or description as, and at times I think it maybe needs a little, like I said, a little jolt or something, but can't do it every night for 60 games. It's not fair. Like we have a job. It's to prepare them and to make sure they know what to expect and what we're looking for, and then help coach them through that. But they need to, and they've done a nice job of that as of late, of being ready to go to play from the jump and from the first puck drop and kind of building that momentum throughout the game.
I've always, whenever I hear especially like it's during football season where you'll hear somebody, well, we just didn't come out with enough energy. And I've always said, like, if you can't get excited, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
There's like, how do you not get excited for? I don't care who you're playing or not, just getting out there on the field or the court or the ice. Like, I always hated that phrase whenever I've heard somebody say, we just didn't come out with enough energy. It's like,
yeah.
what's going on?
I think in football is so different too, because it's like there's so few games, right? I mean, like you're not afforded that many chances. Like with us, in the NHL, you play 60 games or 82 games. It's just like sometimes you just feel like you're like, oh, you want to just kind of, especially teams that are used to kind of going to the playoffs, like the Tampa Bays and those guys, like they're almost just waiting to get to the playoffs, and we don't have that. We don't have that luxury, right? So we need to find a way to make sure we're getting there. But I do understand some nights for us, then they're still kids, right? I mean, it's just you don't have that same fire that you do. But I mean, now 9 games left, there's nothing to you can't really save it for anything right now. So
leave it all on the ice, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
That's the plan.
Well, best of luck. I guess I can't say this weekend, later this week, just a couple days from here. So it's Thursday and Friday.
Gets us out of our normal rhythm, which is okay.
Yeah.
It's good for you to
Yeah. Not get stagnant a little bit there.
Changes things up.
I like it. So, but big one against the Wisconsin Wendigo. Get to the ice arena for Thursday and Friday's game. Pack that house. Full Rally the Valley, as Kyle would probably want us to say. Hashtag Rally the Valley. So, and then you're off to Alaska for a few weeks. So this will be the last time I catch up with you. So safe travels. And by the time
send Kyle over here next week. He's not coming. So
he's not going to Alaska with you guys.
No, he's not. He's not on this trip. So.
Okay. Well, we'll have to send Kyle over here. So, but then by the time you're back, maybe we'll be talking about a playoff spot.
That's right.
At that point.
We will.
So I like it. Best of luck, Coach, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll bring in RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst from the Zone in Madison, after these quick words. Obviously, we talked quite a bit yesterday about the Badgers and the women's hockey team becoming 7-time national champions, all under our head coach, Mark Johnson. So perfect time to catch up with our good friend, Mr. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst from the Zone in Madison. So big question to start it off here, RJ. More impressive, Mark Johnson and his 7 national championships, or actually coaching you in Little League?
Whew, I mean, it took a pretty good amount of coaching to get me to even look like I knew what I was doing on the baseball field. So it's making a run for its money, but I'm gonna slightly lean for the 7 national championships.
Man, I was talking about it quite a bit yesterday, RJ, and I think a lot of people knew that. Yeah, he won a few national championships, but when you put a number 7 next to that thing, it's like, dang, it's that many. And I still feel like he kind of gets overlooked or underappreciated. We're having a little fun with like Badger sports Mount Rushmore a little bit yesterday, and I feel like for a lot of fans, maybe he kind of gets overlooked just because he's been so consistently good. I got to imagine it's probably different in Madison though, surrounding Mark Johnson.
Yeah, he's a Madison kid. Went to Memorial High School here. Went to the UW. Became an Olympic hero. Came back to the UW. Went to the NHL. So it's one of those where, I think people might want to put him on there on that Mount Rushmore twice. Once as a player, once as a coach now. So I mean, really, you only have 2 spots left, according to some people around this area. But not too overlooked around this area. But it is one of those. I mean, you still have people who are poo-pooing women's athletics. So it's like, well, it's not that impressive. There aren't that many teams that are on par with the Minnesotas, the Ohio States, the Duluths, and the Badgers. So to that, I just say, you know what? If you're winning 7 national championships on any level, with any gender, you're doing something right, and it's nothing to shake a stick at and just kind of be like, well, look what he's doing it at.
Right
now. There are the people who then say, well, have him go across the hall and have him coach the men. Would that translate over? I don't know. It's a completely different style of game. But it's one of those where it's just an amazing feat. 7 national championships. It's just for a hockey lifer like he's been, it's awesome to see the kind of success he's had on every level he's been at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we kind of tallied the votes yesterday, RJ, and I'll tell you where the leading vote getters were, and it was Barry Alvarez, number 1. Ron Dane was on there. It was Mark Johnson and Bo Ryan were your top 4. And there's a bunch of other people you could put on there. But would you be okay with that if that was, your top 4? And we're talking like coaches, players, athletic directors, administration. Would you sub in somebody else on your own personal one?
I think I'd probably put Pat Richter on there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Solely because we are nowhere near as a university where we are right now. If it wasn't for him coming around, making some tough decisions, cutting some sports, basically saving the athletic department from falling further into disrepair and really becoming non-existent. He and Donna Shalala are really the real people who turned Wisconsin around in the late 80s. And by proxy there, that led to Barry Alvarez's success as he was the first big hire of turning things around here at the UW. So I'd probably put Pat Richter in there. But it's one of those, out of the 4 you listed, I don't know who you'd take off.
Right. Yeah. Ron Dane, the easy choice. Like if there was a player rep for that, would you put Ron Dane as your number 1 guy?
I would. You're getting towards a time period now that where we've had less people who actually saw him play. So you're getting the people who are like, well, it should be Jonathan Taylor, or it should be Melvin Gordon. But yeah, for me, right now, it would be Ron Dane. For some older people out there, I mean, I'm not going to go out and just name names here, but there's probably other people who would be on that list even before Ron Dayton, So it becomes an era kind of thing of all that. But yeah, for the most part, all those names are of 1990 or later, sooner, whichever way you want to look at time.
Yeah.
It's anything that is post 1990.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Mark John. I mean, we haven't gotten any hints that he might be calling it a career at any point in time, right? I mean, it still sounds like can we get 10 national championships from that guy? Do you think?
Yeah, it didn't really sound like he was talking about slowing down or anything like that. So, majority of the team this year was underclassmen, so it's returning a lot, and we'll see where that goes. But yeah, there's no reason, and it's one of those things we've been talking about, and we were even talking about it during the little slide they went on. What does this team have to do to make it to the NCAAs? And you know what? They started taking care of business near the end of the year, and they should be theoretically returning a lot of players. But in this day and age, even in the transfer portal, we are seeing even athletics we've thought as non-money makers and ones that wouldn't really be into the whole NIL thing. The Badgers have lost a few and gained a few via the transfer portal. So that's still a thing that we can look at here. And even though theoretically the roster should look very similar, it could look totally different by the time we're talking about preseason in October of 2023,
Yeah. Have you heard anything, any rumors about how the men's hockey coaching search is going?
Absolutely nothing.
Wow.
And I'm even trying to do some digging, and I haven't heard anything. So, the people I know in the know aren't talking, so I'm not too sure what's going on that end.
All right. Well, maybe that's the way Chris McIntosh wants it too. Keep it on
maybe.
hush.
I mean, we were kind of really caught off guard by the Fickle signing, and even the people I had talked to had told me, the rug got pulled out from Jim Leonard, and he was lined up to be the next head coach, and then it turned into, behind the scenes, they were talking to Fickle, and Fickle said yes. So, there's certain situations that play out. Now we're not in a coach in waiting kind of thing,
right?
Here, so, or somebody who is an interim coach waiting to hear anything. So, I mean, who knows? They're doing their due diligence and trying to find the right fit. You're also dealing with a NCAA hockey season that hasn't ended yet. So that could be part of it here, where they might be targeting active head coaches right now. So, we'll see how it plays out. If we see some teams that have had some relative success these past few seasons, past 5-10 years, we might that bow out of the NCAA tournament now, or don't get selected for the NCAA tournament. I think that was announced, but it'll be interesting to see when we start seeing some traction there on, certain coaches talking to the Badgers, and or if we see it wait until even around the Frozen Four. A little bit of a waiting game now since the season is still going on.
RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. Since we were just chatting a little bit about football, there we got some spring ball coming up here, RJ, don't we? Coming up in the next or shortly, I should say.
Yeah, I believe pro day is Thursday,
Mm-hmm.
and then Saturday starts the 15 spring practices that include the launch in April, which is going to be something. Whether it's a game, whether it's a practice that they allow the public to, I'm gonna, just by what you see and hear from the public, I think it'll be well attended. But yeah, so, and they announced that all 15 practices will be open to the media. So they really want to get the media on board for whatever they're going to be doing. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that access is moving forward. But it's one thing I think we definitely saw even when Jim Leonard took over. He was a lot more open with the media than Paul Christ was. And it now even seems, at least for the spring, I'm guessing they really have nothing to hide. If you go watch film on Longo's offenses, they're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And they're also learning themselves. So it'll be something that, you just keep piquing the interest here, and it'll help in the long run for your visibility, your the more access you give to the media, the more you have that chance to be, at least appear to be, more available to your fan base. So yeah, we'll see how spring goes this year, and then, like I said, moving forward, probably fall camp, you'll see that media access kind of rolled back a little bit, I'm assuming, but maybe that doesn't happen until you get to actual game prep week. So yeah, it'll just be interesting to see how this plays out. Really looking forward to see what Tanner Mordecai is going to be doing at that quarterback position. I'm really trying to think of where you have a position battle that can start now. And I think, you probably could say everywhere, because as a brand new coaching staff, I don't think anything's going to really be guaranteed carrying over from anywhere. But the one position I think we can say is guaranteed, Tanner Mordecai wasn't coming here to be in a quarterback battle. I'm going to go ahead and say we see him getting a lot of the reps with the ones, and we probably see him as a starter come September. So, really looking forward to it. I guess we'll see what happens this spring.
Absolutely. And then we've got still Badger Hoops coming up tonight in the NIT, going up against Oregon. If they win, they're in the Final Four of the NIT here. First game, they get a win. Stephen Kral puts up over 30 points. Chucky Hepburn in this latest game against Liberty puts up like 27 points, which I'm sure a lot of Badger fans are saying, where the heck was that? Performances during the regular season and such. But I've been following you on Twitter. You're still getting into these games, even though they're the NIT, aren't you, RJ?
Yeah, it's no different than the football team going to a bowl game that isn't a New Year's Day Six Bowl. And I can't say, heck, even a New Year's Day Six Bowl. It's no different than the team missing the college football playoff. You get as many practices as you can stay alive and, survive in advance. You get to practice as long as your season's going on. It's kind of the reason why I didn't understand North Carolina. Yeah, sure, you're preseason number one. You didn't make the tournament. But, that's more or less, I think, more indicative of them looking at it saying, we don't want to embarrass ourselves and lose in the NIT, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to keep going and get your guys practicing, get your guys. And you know what? It looks like this Wisconsin team's having fun again.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy what happens when you're not losing. And it looks like they're getting healthier. Wall's looking more like the guy he was earlier in the year before his ankle injury. Max Klesmit is healthy again, but you know what? He was a little less bothered by a head injury rather than an ankle injury. Stephen Crowell looks like he took Greg Gard's attitude change to heart. We'll see how that goes against Oregon, who is the 5th tallest team in college basketball. And we'll see if that aggressive and physical nature will continue in the paint that we've seen Wisconsin in those first 2 games against Bradley and Liberty. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see tonight. Both teams are in the bottom third of pace of play, so could be seen a low-scoring game. But because of that, it also wouldn't surprise me if, all of a sudden both teams start shooting the lights out and you get a high-scoring, slow game. But the game tonight will be won and lost in the paint, solely based on if we see Wall and Crowell play like they have been in these other 2 games. Granted, Badgers had the height advantage there, but it'll be interesting to see now with Wall. Oregon has, I think I saw, 7 foot, a 6'10", and a 6'11" guy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in those matchups.
Yeah, man. So would you say the key for tonight is going to be Stephen Crowell and Tyler Wall kind of down low, either defensively and offensively?
Yeah, and maybe even Carter Gilmore. We saw him get some minutes against Bradley and Liberty and actually play well defensively. He's one of the big reasons why Wisconsin is moving on. When you saw that matchup, the switch right as the game was getting ready to end against Liberty, Gilmore switched over to McGee on a screen and was able to guard him and not give him the easy layup and or foul him. So it was one of those where, maybe we get some real gritty minutes out of Gilmore again tonight. But I think the paint is where this game will be won and lost. You cannot lose that rebounding battle. So if you are aggressive, like we've seen them be the last 2 games, you get to the line, you have that Wisconsin kind of attitude where we're going to make more free throws than you attempt. And they had done that, at least they're trying to, it looks like, done that the past 2 games. So I think if you keep that in mind, don't abandon it. I mean, heck, you even had some of the guards cutting and making layups. So it's one of those, run the swing offense. It works.
Mm-hmm.
It confuses people. It has, and it will. Sure, and there's just times where the Badgers don't run it. And so it'll be interesting to see that tonight if they can continue the game plan that's got them to this round.
Mm-hmm. He's RJ Cardinal. Dude, appreciate it as always. Lots to catch up on. You have a fantastic weekend, buddy, and we'll catch up again next week, sir. Maybe we'll be talking more about this basketball team with the NIT run here.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will see you next week.
You got it. There you go. There's RJ Cardinal joining us as always every Tuesday morning. We've got to take a really quick break because we're running out of time here. So we'll do that now, and then we'll cover the bases after these few words.
Well,
You doing well? So ready for spring and summer though to get here a little bit?
I wish it'd stop snoring.
I know. It's kind of teasing us, melting a little bit, but then it's you got state tournaments, so I guess that's whenever snowstorms happen. So
And I don't put away my snowblower till June because I've been burned before. So in June, I'll finally, get it all situated for the summer.
I remember it was my bachelor party weekend. This was like 10, 11 years ago, and it was May, but we had a snowstorm.
Mhm.
I'm like, you kidding me?
Yep.
Bachelor party, May, Thank you, Wisconsin.
And it was a lot of snow, if I remember too.
Yeah.
It was a tremendous amount of snow. It was just a freak snowstorm. And
Yep.
yeah, I remember that day very well.
Yeah, because luckily we weren't doing anything else. We were going to Milwaukee for a baseball game, so we weren't golfing or anything like that. So it was like, because that was the plan, but then
Right.
But yeah, good. And there's a certain point though. I'm like, when if it is snowing, like I'm like, nope, I ain't shoveling. I refuse to do it. I got a truck. I'll just drive through it.
I agree.
So
Same way.
Yep.
Done.
Well, it is. We're in the middle of March here. It's a couple days before spring. It's St. Patrick's time, and everybody's getting their green, rocking their green, dyeing everything green right now. Green drinks, and we got the mint sensation. We had it the other day, my wife and I, and it's better than the other ones. We'll
Right.
just say that are out there.
That's because we use our white coffee in ours.
Mhm.
And if you're not familiar with our white coffee, we're one of the only people around here that does white coffee.
Mhm.
It's got not so much of a roasted heavy flavor. It's more of a smoother, nuttier flavor. And for you caffeine junkies, has more caffeine. It's a lot better than you than a energy drink or
Yeah.
a Monster. So
Especially us early risers, like at 3:00 in the morning or something
Absolutely.
like that, or maybe you put in the long days. You need that little boost right there. So
it's just kind of nice to get that bump in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
Get you through.
exactly, and a little bit healthier of an option, like you said, because those energy drinks are just loaded
Yeah.
with like sugar. Like I'll admit it, like I used to drink those back in the day, and then you get a little older and wiser, if
Yeah.
you will, to make it sound a little bit better.
I agree.
It's like,
If I can't read the ingredients and have some concept as to what it is, I'm not sure I want that pumping through my veins. So.
yes, exactly. So, plus, I know we've kind of dabbled on it a little bit here and there. I know one time you brought in the breakfast sandwich, which was flipping fantastic. It was big.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like a lot of other places are pretty small. This thing was huge.
Right.
It was huge. You also do a full menu lunch too, and
Yeah.
I know that's something that with a lot of people like, wow, I can't believe Cabin Coffee actually has a big menu like that.
We do breakfast and lunch all day long,
Mhm.
and you'll be surprised at the size of our menu. And everything is made to order, so it's not just opened up a cellophane container and microwave it for 2 minutes, and
Yep.
here's your sandwich. You can mix it up. You can turn any of our sandwiches into a wrap. We offer gluten-free bread and gluten-free bagels for people who have a gluten sensitivity, and we just try to focus more on the quality. So.
Mhm. Thanks for stopping by, Joe. And if you're craving a coffee, you know where to go. Cabin Coffee, River Prairie in Altoona. Wrapping things up here, you got a couple games on the schedule for tonight. You got the World Baseball Classic Championship game. USA versus Japan, 6 p.m. It looks like FS1. Will Japan get their third World Baseball Classic Championship, 3 out of 5, or can the U.S. win back-to-back and get their second championship? That should be a fun game tonight. Can't wait to check that out. It's been really, if you haven't, again, been following along with them, it's been really entertaining. It's exceeded my expectations. I don't know why I maybe had a little bit lower expectations, but I think they've been fantastic. Then, 2 hours after the start of that game, we've got the Badgers taking on the Oregon Ducks in the NIT. That's going to be an 8 p.m. tip because that's going to be in the West Coast. The Badgers get that W. They will move on to the Final Four in the NIT. So that game looks to be on the mothership, ESPN. Only got, what do we got? Like a minute or so coming up here. So we talked a lot of Brewers. We went through the top 5, at least my top 5 names to watch as we inch a little bit closer to the start of the regular season. We did a little Bucks chats. 2 Bucks having another off night tonight before they take on the San Antonio Spurs tomorrow at home, and then they got a little bit of a road trip right after that, starting on Friday against the Utah Jazz. We talked a little green and golds, kind of a quiet-ish free agency for the Packers and such. Now that the first wave has been concluded, will that be the time when Green Bay makes a move or not? We'll see how it all plays out. Tomorrow we'll do a little showdown. We've got stock reports, whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling. So we will hit that up. You can play along. Think about it. Whose stock's rising, whose stock's falling, all that good stuff. I want to hear from you, all right? Have a good rest of your Tuesday. DP and the Danettes, they're up next. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, shortly past 6 a.m. Talk to you all then.